Hi guys, so when the refugee crisis started, I remember reading about how Poland had suspended immigration checks on people coming into the country. As of a few days ago, Poland had accepted 380,000 people. The EU itself has accepted about 4 million. Another story linked to Poland opening its borders was that how it suspended pet passport checks. These are normally needed, but on humanitarian grounds these were dropped, meaning Ukrainians are free to bring their pets with them. This brings us to this story that was raised by BBC Sunday Breakfast by a woman from a refugee organisation.
And it's horrendous. We brought back to Calais when we came back in the end, a Ukrainian woman and her 8-year-old daughter. They'd been sleeping rough for 4 days, the other side of the border. They were cold and they were lovely. They were so grateful. They were lovely. And they were refused entry here, by the way, when we got to Calais. That's another story.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very complex story as well, isn't it? We talked about this earlier in the week, and the government, I mean, they say they've launched a scheme for people who are fleeing Ukraine, so extended and immediate family members of British nationals and people who are already settled to come to the country, but then obviously you're seeing people in need there.
Ellie, I agree.
And I completely understand why you would want to think, right, okay,
I agree.
I'm going to step in and do something.
I agree it's complex. It's highly complex. These situations all are. Compassion is not complex. No. And actually, pulling out red tape at times like this is not the time and place to do it. This woman had been living in London. She'd been working here. She went out to the Ukraine to pick up her 8-year-old daughter and bring her back. She had a letter from the Home Office saying that she had a right to be in the UK. And that was not enough red tape for the British border control to let her through. It was disgraceful. After 4 days of being in the border, cold, and 2 days of being in the back of one of our vans, or in the front of one of our vans, she was then turned away and told she had to go to Paris to apply for a visa. What is helpful about that?
Exactly. What is helpful about that? Priti Patel has been saying how we have been leading the way. We have been helping refugees. And a letter from the Home Office isn't enough. A letter from the Home, does it need to be signed by Priti Patel? Does Priti Patel need to do a video conference call and say, yes, these people can come in? Some countries, for example, have said all you need is a passport. That's all you need in order to get in. Like this child, an 8-year-old child, was coming in obviously on her mother's passport. She's connected to her mother. That's the way she was coming into the country. And this is a disgrace. But what's a bigger disgrace, of course there are going to be problems, okay? But surely this should have been communicated. Should have been communicated to the border force and said, anyone coming in from Ukraine should be allowed in. Now, that should have been what happened. But instead, what Priti Patel and others have said is we need to protect the borders. Remember, we took back control following Brexit in order to control the borders. So, yeah, we're willing to let in some refugees, but we don't want, and this was an actual claim made, we don't want Russians maybe entering the country along with the refugees to, do something. Now, this has been criticised by the French government. This is from The Independent. It says here, France accuses the UK of lack of humanity after 150 refugees turned away at Calais. 150 people who were trying to get into the UK to be with family have been turned away. And the French minister has written a strongly worded letter to Priti Patel, saying the response was completely unsuitable. But how is Priti Patel going to respond? Well, we need to keep the racists happy. People voted for this back in 2016. And, if we're actually showing some humanity, of course, Priti Patel has no humanity, but if we show some humanity, these voters, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record here, but these voters are going to switch to UKIP or the Brexit Party or whatever the hell Nigel Farage has come up with recently. That's what's going to happen. So we can't allow that to happen. We need to protect the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is more important than refugees, it's more important than people's lives, it's more important than British businesses, it's more important than anything. It's more important than the union itself, it seems, as well. But when it comes to refugees, we'll let in some, to save face, but we're not going to let in more than that. And as I said at the beginning, Poland has taken in 380,000. The EU itself has taken in about 4 million. And Priti Patel doesn't want to allow a few children in as well. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.